Today I'm going to talk about the new Select AI of On1 Photoraw 2023 and some change in the mask option. But before the tutorial, I would like to inform you that you have a nice Black Friday offer from On1. You can find this Black Friday offer in the description of this video just below. And now we can start the tutorial. So you have some change with the Mask AI tool of On1 Photoraw 2023. You have, if you want, in this area, you will see this, just there. You have just the AI option, just a bit like this, to select the part of these pictures, of course, with a segmentation of a mask, but you have something that we had in the past. By the request of some people, you have the last thing, this type of mask, of course. You have the return of this option. You can go by this way with this red line to remove some part of this picture. And if you want, you can keep in green some part of the picture just there. You can apply, you will see what happens now. And you have the section just there from the mask. You will keep, for this example, the sky, and you will remove just this part of this image, of course. You can click on done, as you may notice, and you have the sky just there. And this part is just the invisible part from this image, of course. So I'm going to reset just the layer properties, just a bit like this. This is the small difference, you know, in the mask area. As I said you just before, it was the function with the green light on the red line, and now you have a segmentation if you want to do the same too. You have the two options now to see what is the correct thing for you to edit your picture. So next thing, I'm going to select my Select AI, all the same. And as you may notice, you have this section, as you may know, of this picture. The red overlay, in fact, it's not the final mask of your mask. In fact, you have to select it, for example, for this one, on this one. And as you may notice, you have something with not really working just there in this mask. And if I select this thing in blue, you have the final mask. I can go with adjustment just like this, or if you want, you can do a right click and select the correct adjustment. As you may notice, you can, for example, use the contrast, etc. The adjustment is the local adjustment, of course, or you have, as you know, the effects, you know, from On1. You can select, for example, the more accurate effect, I think the dynamic contrast. As you may notice, you can select, why not a preset, but for this example here, I will select the dynamic contrast just like it is, and I can, as you may notice too, go to my mask just there, and I can view the mask, and as you may see, you have the final mask just there, where you can see that this mask is more accurate than the preview we saw just before with a red overlay. So let's have a look with the dynamic contrast with the selection of this mask. You can all the same play with this dynamic contrast. As you may know, you have a small, medium, or large area. We can use the small area just a bit like this, you know. You can do a correct thing just like this. If you do the before and the after, you can see it's adding some more presence in your picture. You can do something interesting with the masking. You can copy this mask too, instead of selecting the Select AI tool, you know, etc. You can go directly on your filter. Of course, I can select the sky and select my filter, as you may know, but I can select the glow, for example. And if you want, I can select the mask just there and past my previous mask. As you may see, you can view the mask, and the simple thing to do is to invert the mask just a bit like this. And you can use this glow tool just a bit there, as you may notice, and you have this thing just in this area. So I use two effects, as you may know, the dynamic contrast and the glow. But I forgot something, is to do my first thing, the edit, as you may notice in the general, in the whole picture. You can correct the tone. The correct thing is just to use the develop tab at the first time, but we will use just after the local adjustment. It's not a problem, as you may notice just after. I can do the AI auto, just like this. And as you may know, it's really wow. So I'm going to decrease the tone with the auto button, just a bit like this. I can go in this area just like this, and I think it's the correct amount of this thing, of course. We can go there and select the auto white balance. There we go. And as you may notice, we have a correct image just like this. It's pleasant compared to the first step. At the initial image, just like this, you have a before and the after, just like this. And as you may notice, with the effect, if I remove the glow, if I remove the dynamic contrast, you have this sort of pictures. It's not too bad, but as you may know, the dynamic contrast is really nice on this picture with this rock, you know. It's a really, really interesting things, as you may know. I can maybe go to the dynamic contrast and I can play with the opacity, maybe a bit like this, or maybe I can use a blending mode, should be a good idea. We can just try something interesting with that. Maybe the linear dodge should be a great thing. I will decrease a little bit the opacity, just a bit like this, a bit the shadows, just a bit like this, and a bit the highlights to correct a little bit this thing with the blending mode. You have the before and the after. It's really correct. I can do something just there. I can correct all the same the additional shadows just there in this area in the dynamic contrast with the blacks too, just a bit like this, the white just there. We can see the before and the after, as you may notice. It's not too bad with the glow, with the sky, just like this. And as I said you have the before and the after, just a bit like this. You have a nice picture and you can export it like it is, of course. If you want, if you would like to change the color, the green color just there in this area, you can use another filter too. Should be a great idea. I can do something interesting with the color enhancer, just like this. I can select the green, just like this, and of course not so saturate, or maybe I can keep the saturation and I will decrease the hue, as you may see, just a bit like this. And I think it's an additional great thing of this picture, just a bit like this. We can play with the brightness. You can increase a bit the brightness, just a bit like this. It should be good too. And it change the picture, as you may notice, just a bit like this. And here you go. We can, why not, finalize the picture with a vignette, just there. We are going to select the part of the vignette that we want to keep, maybe in this area of this rock, of this cliff exactly, and we can play with the brightness of the vignette, just a bit like this. We can decrease the size, increase the fever, just a bit like this. and play with the roughness. As you may notice just there, we are going to play with brightness just there, a bit like this, here. Why not? Great idea, just like this. And here you go, you have the before, and here you go, you have the dynamic contrast, etc. We did some color enhancer, the glow in the sky, and the dynamic contrast in the rock, just there. And here you go, you have this final image. You can go to the Black Friday offers in the description of this video, of course. And thanks for watching. See you in the next video. Bye bye.